Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Such a blessing we have, all these people today, inshallah, mashallah. And I hope this crowd will, represent itself with many different ideas, all these contributions, especially from maybe there will be change today, and gentlemen will also speak, maybe. Let's hope, let's pray for it. One day, inshallah. We will continue with the flashes, 13th flash and the 8th indication. The flashes is the name of the book, and within the book flashes, we are studying the 13th flash and 8th indication. I just wait for a few seconds. 113 exactly. It should be around page 113. And depending on the version, it may change 1 or 2 pages. It should be around 113. 8th indication. While you're looking for the pages, we will have someone to Okay, while people find the page, somebody will remind us what we studied last week. Who wants to do that? What we studied last week or last weeks? Don't make me, call the name, please. Amen.
I wasn't here last week.
Okay. Okay, then let's go with maybe Sister Zaha. Thank you for raising your hand. But you raised your hand. You did. Okay, I see.
Assalamu alaikum. So I guess the broad topic of this flash is taking refuge in God from the Satan. And so we talked in the past couple of flashes about what this means and sort of what or who is the Satan or Shaitan or Shayateen, I guess, in practically in my life, and what are the strategies that get employed, or sort of what types of like thinking get used to sort of make me fall for certain I guess whisperings of the Satan, to put it that way, but like really thinking about it practically. And then last week in the 7th indication, we were talking about a viewpoint where if there is an all-merciful God, then there can't be, like, how can there be evil? So the idea was that God creates all the good, and then people are creating evil in the world. And so to address this, we're kind of talking about this this concept of evil. And I think the conclusion reached was that everything created is good. So everything in existence is good, but when people choose to do something evil, then that is the evil thing. For example, a knife is not evil by itself. And if someone uses the knife to murder someone, the knife is still not evil. It's the person who made the choice to murder someone that is the evil. I hope that was a good example. But and then there was a second part to the 7th indication, which was a question about how can someone who commits like grievous sins still remain as a believer. And I think we talked about how like the path of like committing sins tends to be easy. And a comparison was made where it's easier to destroy something than it is to build something up. And then another point, if I'm remembering correctly, is that people tend to easily listen to their desires, and tend to want to get immediate pleasure rather than waiting for a long time for like a bigger reward or something like that, and want to avoid immediate punishment rather than thinking about like avoiding a bigger punishment, if I'm understanding that correctly. So that was last week.
Jazakallah. So one part of the 7th indication, as you mentioned, the question was, we see evil things in the creation, and some people resolve this issue in belief by saying that, oh yeah, these evil things are created by Satan or created by people, right? I remember I watched a talk in which the priest was saying, oh yeah, God also doesn't want, these bad things to happen, and he gets upset when such things happens, but there is nothing, he can do, or he doesn't interfere, whatever, right? We try to save all merciful creator by saying that all these bad things are not created by him. And the author was saying that is not the case. It cannot be the case. So let's start from there, inshallah, because we have a lot of newcomers. So I want to, touch upon the basics while not going too far from the text. So the author kind of made the point that it's not possible. Like, if there's a creation, good or bad from your interpretation, doesn't matter. It has to be attributed to the same and only creator. Let's start from there. Why is it so? Is it so? Something happens in life. Let's start with easy things. You see a beautiful flower out there. Who or what? Let's start with the what even. What could be the source of this flower? You see a flower. What can be the source of this flower? Any ideas? And let's be honest, like whatever we've been trained for. Seed, fantastic, right? Maybe the seed is the source of the flower. Has anyone objection? Has any objection for that? No, seed cannot, the flower cannot come from seed. Anyone? Okay, flower is created by seed. We established that. How about my hair? Oh, it's not there. William's hair. What about William's hair? What is the source of the William's hair? So, sorry, that was hair follicles. Okay, mashallah, impressing us with words that we don't know.
It's a mix. My dad has very, I don't know, nappy hair, and my mom has very straight hair, so I get in between.
Okay, like a Mendelian type of, the genetics in place. Okay. I'm trying to impress, in the same. Okay, the hair is coming from genes, right? Eventually. And rain. What is the source of rain? Sorry? Clouds, yes, clouds forming. Yeah. Fantastic. The car, the factory. The shoes, shoemaker. I don't know, the air, it's just the molecules. There's no reason to do anything, right? Just floating around. So then it seems there's no need for like asking these questions like who's making it, what is the source, etc. We already know it. Everything is within this natural system. Where did the idea of God come from? It seems we don't need God. If you need hair, you just find the right genes. If you need flower, you just find the right seed. Do we need God? Do we need a creator, all-knowing, all-wise, all-powerful? That's how it is being usually claimed. For a flower, let's start from the flower again. Anyone? Or maybe God, the setup, the system once upon a time, and now we don't need him anymore. Unless, we pray and want him to interfere, do something miraculous. Send the thunder over these, the soldiers. This type of things. We need God, maybe. But the soldiers to walk or use a gun, whatever, we don't need God. It's just the physical forces in place. Okay, with this pessimism, who will going to save us? Sister Zaha, would you like to? Okay.
For me, the first instinct is when you describe the flower as coming from the seed, and I'm like, but the seed by itself can't do anything. I would also need water. I would also need soil. I also need sunlight, and it's an endless but the sun, how is that existing? What's its source? And we can start thinking, what's the source of water? What's the source of soil? It's an endless loop. But still, if I really think about it, I'm just describing what I'm seeing. For me, the question of God comes in when I start thinking about the meaning. What is this like? I don't want to say it's why versus how. That's not what I'm talking about. But really, from the discussions, I feel like the perspective that I have now is I'm just stating what I see. I have names to point and be clear what I'm talking about, but I don't derive any meaning from it. It's just I observe and I state what I observe. It's just as plain as that. But then if I want to see a meaning from it, then I start to question, well, what is this telling me? And then I can understand that if the flower needs or is made to be in need of soil, water, the sun, air, then there is a unity in all of them, that there must be someone who knows all of these elements equally well.
Just to to open it up, could you name elements? When you say elements, what do you mean?
Like the individual things that I can see and name, for example, flower or
Okay.
soil or water. If I want to attribute power to them, I can't really come up with, okay, this is a concrete reason why I believe they have certain powers, like the power to make a flower, for example. But one meaning I can derive from observing it all together is there must be a source of knowledge somewhere that knows about this water and about the soil and how they should come together and how the sun should be, how sunlight should come together. So one meaning I can derive from that is there is a source of all knowledge, or all of this knowledge is stored somewhere and there's a source for that. But if I try to derive that from the elements, individual things themselves, I don't know what I can base an argument off of. So for me, when we explain things like, oh, rain is from clouds, that's what I see, but that's not I don't derive any meaning from. I'm just stating the obvious of like what I see. That makes
Okay,
sense.
Jazakallah. MashaAllah. So I'm going to try to summarize what you said. So I think the description, the word description was very important. When we ask something like, how can a flower be? Right? That's the question. I see a flower and I ask the question, how can? And what we usually do, further describe what we see. Right? We say, okay, I see a flower. I see some water. I see earth. And if we are more educated, like, our sister there, we would say these type of molecules, that type of molecules, right? If we are even further educated, we would say, oh, there are also this type of particles in, the action. That's the description of what I see, right? And we usually take it as an explanation. And we say, okay, I already explained I gave the answer to your question. It's like, you see a painting, like you see these drawings, not paintings. And I say, how it can be. And you start saying that, oh, there are that much, the paper, which consists of that and that molecules. And there is also ink. The shape of the ink is this. The angles between, the shapes are that, etc. You describe everything. But of course, there is something missing there, right? This cannot be the answer of my question. And then you say, oh, okay, yeah, maybe you meant the historical description. Before flower was in that form, it was smaller. And before that, it was just a stem. And before that, it was just a seed. You give me a historical description of what I'm supposed to observe when I look at the same point in space over a long period of time. You describe what I'm going to see. Right? Still, there are many things actually missing. And every time you give me a new object, like when you say stem and then seed, now I have to ask even more questions. Before I was asking about the flower, now I have to ask about the seed as well, and the relationship between the seed and the flower. The existence of the flower itself, it was a surprise for me. Now, the existence of the seed is another surprise, another mystery. And how can a seed become a flower is another mystery now. Now you are expanding the mysteries rather than explaining any with these descriptions, right? Again, that's what I understand from, when you say describe. You also mentioned there's like a mismatch between what I see and what is given as a potential source. So what I see there, when I see a flower, okay, let's not start with our believer package, just as an observer, as a human being, right? As a living, conscious human being, what I see there, when I look at the flower, what do you see there? Shape, right? Yeah, shape of the flower you see, the color. What else? Smell. Okay, with his hand, I know that this means the smell, like it's going up. Smell. What else? When you look at the flower, what do you see there? Okay. So I was talking to a friend about a pencil, and he's shooting like a short movies, etc. I said, if you take a pencil and take your camera, start from the end and bring to the front, And while doing so, you show how color is changing. What would you call? I asked. He said, I would call it art. Okay, take a flower, look from different angles. What do you see? The color is changing. It's not the same color. From every direction you look, the color will change. And the change in the color is not abrupt, like it's not, the spontaneous, it's not, let's say, unexpected, right? There is always a gradient in the color change. Like the palette used, and if you are familiar with video editing, etc., the filter that is being used to produce this wave in front of me, it's a smooth, nice filter, right? I look at the flower, the color is changing in an orderly fashion in front of my eyes. I look at the one leaf of the flower. What I see millions different color there, just within a single leaf, right? All put in a harmonious way, so that I see the leaf, as a whole, but at the same time, every part of the leaf will give me a different view and different experience. If you are a human being, a conscious human being, and look at the leaf, just look at the colors, different colors, how they come together, you will start feeling, as if you are reading a poem there, right? Just the leaf. I'm not talking even about what is it called? The petals, yes. And what is inside the petals? We have a very interesting flower in front of our house. When it opens up, it's a large flower. The what is inside what is it called? Sorry? Buds. Yeah, there are different types of buds. That's true. It's so interesting. Every time we pass, Huda says, Daddy, what is this? It's so interesting. Different colors, different structure, the shape. Some parts are smooth, some parts are like spiky, etc. So this is nothing but pure art in front of me. Again, we're not talking about an artist making it, etc. We're just describing what we see there. If we are honest, I see art there. I mean, if this is not art, this is not an art. I'm sorry. If this flower is not if you are reluctant to call it as an art, again, just from a humanistic perspective, I'm not talking about the belief. If you cannot call a flower an artist, like an artful thing, what Michelangelo did or the Raphael did, whatever, they're just trash. If this is not art. But this is art there, right? What else we see there? We see an order, right? In the shape of the flower, the smell of the flower. Within flower itself, there's a perfect order. Just looking at the one part of the flower, you can, for instance, make estimates if you are a scientist, a botanist, right? Just looking at the leaf, you can predict how the petals inside the whatever, or the parts inside the petals would look like. How can you do that? Because there is always an order that you can follow within the flower. And now let's expand what happens with flower and other things. You pass through the flower, the way it is there, the way it interacts with the light is so orderly fashioned that it perfectly fits how your eyes are functioning. I'm trying to say that I can see the flower. So for us, it's so easy to say, I see the flower. Of course I see the flower, man. I have the eyes. I put the phone in front of the flower. It has a camera, right? Similar to my eyes. It cannot see the flower. If I don't start the software, whatever, right? It cannot see. to make something to see another thing, you have to create an order between them. The reflection of the light, the wavelength of the lights, whatever, has to fit the ways my eyes function. And it is there. Order. The earth and the flower, there is an order. They fit to each other. The water, flower, order. Sun, flower, order. The smell. There is something called smell in the flower, as you said, right? And my nose. Such a coincidence. Order. This is what I see there. Again, not as a believer, as a human being. I see then what? The art. I see order. I see what? Purpose in this flower. The flower, the way it flourishes, right? It has a purpose. It has an interaction with animals, for instance. There are different type of flowers in front of the house, our house, and only some of them attracts the butterflies. Because the way they are has some functions that serves for butterflies. For some other flowers, they serve to some other insects. Bees, for instance, right? There is a functionality, the function, the purpose there, right? So there is a wisdom in it. All these different qualities I see in a flower, does anybody object what I just said? Any of these qualities? No, you're just making up. You're just making things, fancy. Everything, all these qualities, right? You can do the same thing with anything in the creation. A phone. What I see there, I see order, wisdom, purpose, art, everything else, all these qualities. You can expand it if you are a real human being. In our society, it will be really hard to communicate this. But if you are a real human being, when you look at the flower, you will also see mercy there. How it is being, like it's the shape, color, etc. How it, they communicates with you. You will see mercy there, compassion there. You will see love there. If you are a real human being. If you are an artist, for instance, the qualities that you will see in a flower will be even further expanded. So then the question is, now going back to what Sister Zaha said, all these qualities you see, this is the existence that you cannot deny. Now you have to answer what I will attribute all these qualities. When we ask the question, how can a flower be? That's the question. To what I'm going to attribute all these qualities I see there. People, for instance, who call themselves as scientists, they would say, you know what, I will attribute all these. Nobody denies these qualities. They will say, oh, I will attribute the order to natural order, and I will call them as natural laws. I will attribute the art to the randomness and the natural selection. I will attribute these and whatever, right? They will try to attribute. And the question is, can you attribute them to other things? The seed, for instance. Can seed has these qualities? Does a seed have these qualities? That's the question. Now we further explore, and when we say, okay, we see some wisdom there, or we see some power there because things are moving, right, in place, I ask what kind of power I see there, actually, in a flower. And I realize that whatever the source of this flower has to control, as Sister Zaha beautifully said, has to control everything around it. Why? Because they are in a perfect harmony. So if I'm going to attribute this order or power, let's say, to a seed, I have to attribute the all-compassing power that can control the entire universe, because a flower, a tiny flower, is embedded in the entire universe and has interactions with the entire universe. This is what any physicist will tell you. A flower has an interaction with these black holes out there, or any star in any galaxy. Then I would say, okay, this type of power I'm going to attribute to a seed. I said, don't be ridiculous. Seed cannot be the source of this flower, not because I'm a believer or I want to believe in something, because simply it cannot be. You cannot attribute such a power, such a knowledge to a seed. You cannot. If somebody does, ask them, could you please show me where is this power and wisdom in this seed? Experimentally show me that this seed has such and such power. Could you please show me? No way, right? In the same way, you can realize nothing in this creation that you can think of can possess such a power, such a wisdom, such an artful skill, whatever. Nothing in the creation. Hence, you say there must be something, I don't know what it is, but there must be something that is all powerful, all the wise, all whatever, right? Everything you see, all these qualities. There must be such a thing. So with the flower, we said there must be all-knowing, all-wise creator. The creator means that that's something. I don't know what it is. Okay? There must be. So now let's do the same thing with something that we don't like, something we call as evil. There's a beautiful apple. I don't eat it, and it's got rotten. What do I see there? So just to save time, I've not asked one bite. One. What I see there, oh, you are disappointed that I will not ask? Oh, okay. I see the same way. I see an order. The process of rotting, it's a very complex chemical physical process if you study it. Very complex and very beautiful. I see an order, wisdom there. The same way. It is connected to the rest of the universe. I see art there. Look at the way the colors change in a rotten apple as it gets more and more rotten. How the shades of the gray, take place. You will see a perfect art there. Right? The same qualities I see with a beautiful flower, you see with a disgusting rotten apple. On top of that, with the flower, you have this feeling of love. And with the rotten apple, now you have a feeling of disgust. Also, this feeling is there, right? So the connection with the creation, the rest of the universe. I ask the same question. Can you attribute such a power, such a wisdom, such an art to these insects, the bacteria? Can you attribute that? That's the answer, right? The default answer. How an apple gets rotten, or bacteria comes and starts eating it. Can you attribute this end product to this bacteria? No. If there is a creation, beautiful or not, from your perspective, if there is a creation, anything, a bullet piercing through a body and letting the blood go, death, it's a creation. You will see art, order, wisdom, power, and choice. Everything will be there. You will ask the same question. Who am I going to attribute this? Can I attribute it to a bullet? or the stupid guy who, they fired the gun? No. Same way I say, whoever give existence or creates. That's like a short term. To create means explaining what I see there, right? Whatever is creating this beautiful flower must be the same one who creates a dying body. So that was the summary of the previous text. The author said you cannot attribute anything, say it beautiful or bad, to anything other than all-wise, all-knowing, all-powerful Creator. Please, microphone. Oh, William, help it, please. Turn it on.
Protocols, you have to first take the microphone and press the power button.
Okay, sure.
And hold it on your. Kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, so does the existence of order or a power in a creation, like let's say if you want to say there is a creator for a creation, do you need to see order or power in that?
What do you mean with that?
It's just like you're saying that, okay, when you observe something, a creation, you are seeing an order, you are seeing a power, you're seeing a harmony. Even if there is no power, harmony, or anything in a creation, does that mean there is no creator for that creation? Isn't it like, for me, if you simply thinking the mere existence of a creation is enough to argue that there is a creator for that?
So when you see something and you don't see any order or power in it, you can say that, yeah, there must be a source of it. The creator, the source of it. But when I say its source are these molecules or genes, what prevents you, it doesn't matter. What prevents you saying no? I mean, yes, you are looking for a source, the creator of it. You see a flower and you just see a flower there, nothing more. There's nothing there. And I say, oh, yeah, the flower is coming from, these molecules. So these, the natural order of flowering creates this flower. What prevents you to say yes? If you don't see any reason, right, to tell you that, no, these cannot be the creator of it. How would you distinguish with one possible creator from another? Please.
So I think you're right in the sense that if it merely exists, it was not there before and now it is there. There must be a source for that. Beauty is an existence, therefore a source of beauty or creator of beauty. Like in the term that we used, rather we come as saying that I do observe order, I do observe knowledge, I do observe beauty. To whom am I going to attribute this, right? So now in your example, you're just saying that let's reduce it to one. It just exists. Same question applies. If it's coming into existence, it was not there before and now it is there, definitely it cannot make itself because it was not there before, right? Somebody else needs to put it there. Same thing applies. Where does it come from? What makes it? What creates it? So yes, mere fact that something comes into being shows that there must be a maker, a creator, a progenitor, whatever you would like to call it. But now the life we live in is just making things complicated, because it's not only that it exists, but it exists with multiple features. And the question is, what makes this? And in our day-to-day life, we ask that question, like, what makes this? And we give an answer to that question. We say, oh, seed makes it. Or we say, it's natural. It always happens like that, right? Like, these are the common explanations in our language, which we are not paying attention to. And under this carelessness, a lot of things are getting hidden. We start really to think that oh, like in my hometown, we are famous with apricots. Well, of course, I mean, Malatya's apricots are best. What does that even mean? It means there's something in our soil, in our wind, like we are special, we do something as if, or there's something special with our land. So many things are being hidden under this. This is why even when it comes to, like, forget about rotting, even when it comes to making of an apple, we attribute it to things other than an all-knowing creator. That's why that question is important to ask. And Brother Birkan starts from the easier things, which are apparently nice. And especially if you're coming from a religious background, you say, of course, God does it. But in our practical life, we tend to attribute it to other stuff as well. But now, if you apply the same thing to what we consider as evil, rotting or death or whatever, it is the same phenomena, actually. Right? It is being given existence or creation, same word, in a different form or in a different taste, not even a different form. Same thing, but it just gives me a different taste. So,
From this, one more thing.
Yeah, please go ahead, and then Azun.
E-
If I understood the question right, I think it's a hypothetical question, right? So like, and it's, since it's hypothetical, it begs the like speculation. So like, in order to arrive to some sort of meaningful conclusion, first and foremost, the questions that we are asking must be based on our own experiences, and we should be asking the right questions first. So what if the rain came from the ground, not from the above, for example? Asking that question is not going to take us nowhere, because that is not the experience that I observe. So like, I should start from my own experience. And in my own experience, when I look around, like in the universe, what do I observe? If I can say that, like, no, I do not observe any kind of balance, any kind of order, any kind of beauty, that's a discussion one can have. Like, why? Like, because when I look around, I do observe those kind of qualities. But if you are saying that, no, I don't, then that would be in some sort of discussion to see where you're coming from in terms of like what perspective you bring. But if you don't start from there and ask a speculative question, since the question itself is problematic, I don't think that would take you anywhere in terms of understanding your own reality.
You were saying something.
Yeah, one more thing to add. So, does this argument also answer the question that does the all-knowing creator created this and it's running, or the creator is getting involved in each stage of it?
Fantastic question. So let me pose it in the reverse direction. So what I usually try not to do is start with the idea of the creator and ask how it does, or in what way, etc. Does it make it all the way, every moment, or does it just make it once, etc. I usually try not to ask such questions, because it starts from something that I cannot imagine, the creator. I don't even know what it is, right? Instead, I ask the question this way. Every time I look, do I have to attribute to a creator? For me, that's a proper question. Every time I look at the flower, I said, okay, the all-knowing creator must be doing this flower. And then I ask, how about now? Because the wind has, the shape of the flower changed, right? Do I still have to attribute to the all-knowing creator? That's the question. And I think you are asking the same thing, right? But the difference between the two, you ask about what you see, not about creator. And that's what is suggested in Quran. Before going here, let me give an example about your question. I think, so if we Like, what about if we don't see any qualities in the creation? So I asked the question, like, you see a light there, right? Everybody sees the light. I mean, you see what I mean. Everybody accepts that there's light. We just give a name, light. And I just say light exists. Right? And then I say, oh, what is the source of this light? What is the creator source? What is the source of this light? Because it's there. I have to explain, right? The mere existence. And who is physicist other than Zaha? I already, talked to Zaha too much. Oh, you are a physicist. Okay, that's great. I asked, what is the source of this light? He said, this is the basic, the explanation, the electrons. When they move, right, it becomes light. That's the, in a nutshell, that's the explanation. So what I did, I said the source of the light is electron. Do you have any objection to that? Forget about you are a Muslim, etc. As a human being, do you have any objection there?
You are on record and your PhD is at stake.
No, right? No. The existence of light explained. What prevents me to accept such a, I apologize because we are on the record, for a silly answer, what prevents me to accept this is what I see when I say light. What I mean with the light is the package of all these qualities I see there. Are you crazy? I would say. The light is manifesting this all-powerful thing, whatever it is, because it travels everywhere in the same way. Right? With light, it's even more special. Right? Any other creation. You take a light here, it travels one way. You take the light in Uranus, it travels the same way. Under the water, above the water, the equations around it, whatever they are, the order, it's always there. As if light knows everywhere, everything. It knows how to interact with everything. When you say electron makes it, you have to attribute this knowledge that you see there to the electron. That way, I say, no, it cannot be. That's the story of the Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? He sees the sun. He asking, what is the source of me? My Rab. What is the source of me? He looks at the sun. I exist, sun exists. Maybe the sun, and it's bright. It seems like, nice one. Maybe it is my source. It is my creator. What happens? It sets. It sets mean whatever I see, the quality in me, everything in the creation, it doesn't match with what I see there. It sets, meaning it cannot hold all these qualities that I see here. So it cannot sustain even itself. How is it going to sustain me? The key here, the mismatch between what you see and the claimed creator, false idol. Only when you see this mismatch, you can say that, no, this is not the creator. La ilaha, you can say. Does it make any sense? Okay, the same goes with the evil things as well. We covered them. And then author edit, so I'm not going into too much detail. I already spoke too much. But please, yeah.
Just to highlight one point, as we were discussing this today with Brother Birkan, in time to time we talk about the same thing that we discussed today as well. But if you would like to take a check for yourself. When you go home, don't apply it on a flower, but try to apply it on, I don't know, tangerine that you're trying to eat. Like, what do you attribute it to? And do you really think that it's created by an all knowledgeable, like, does there must exist such a creator? Or is it like becoming, oh yeah, I have been attending discussions for like 2 years, half a year, whatever. Yeah, we got it at some point. You going through that journey yourself is way different than listening to it from Brother Birkan, making you walk through that journey. So it's important to go through that journey ourselves. Just wanted to underline this.
Very important to make it even more attractive for you so that you will do it willingly. When you go to home and eat something and ask these questions to yourself, it will be even less boring than I'm explaining it. Okay? So it will be more, the fun for you, because you will really see the art there, maybe for the first time. Right? Just be honest to yourself, hold whatever you are holding, and ask, what do you see there? Okay, let's continue with the 8th indication. And how many Muhammad we have in this crowd? Muhammad, can you raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 Muhammad. Okay, let's select from Muhammad's then. Who wants to read? Any volunteering, Muhammad? Okay, Muhammad with glasses. Would you like to read it for us? Because you have glasses, you can, read it sharper than others.
But I'm not experienced with it.
So just read the 8th indication. So it will start with the question and it will give the answer. When it starts with another question, so it says if it is asked, you can stop there. It will ask another question, you can stop there.
Okay. Okay. Indication, question.
It just press the power button. There's one. Yeah. It should be blue, the light.
Okay.
Okay.
Question. You have proved in the above indications that the way of misguidance is easy and is distraction and aggression, so that many take it. Whereas in other parts of the Risale-i-Nur, you have proved decisively that the way of unbelief and misguidance is so fraught with difficulties and problems that no one should take it. That is not possible to follow it. And you have shown that the path of belief and guidance is so easy and clear that everyone should take it. The answer. There are 2 sorts of unbelief and misguidance. One pertains to actions and secondary matters, and it is also denial and rejection of the matters of belief. This kind of misguidance is easy. It's a non-acceptance of the truth, an abdication, non-existence, and the absence of acceptance. In the Risale-i-Nur, this sort has been shown to be easy. As for the second sort, it pertains not to actions and secondary matters, but is a judgment of the mind and pertains to belief. It doesn't only deny belief, but opens up a way that is the opposite of it. It is the acceptance of what is false and invalid, the proof of the reverse of truth. This is not only the denial and refutation of belief, it is its opposite. It's not non-acceptance so that it should be easy, but the acceptance of non-being, and can only be accepted through proving non-existence. In accordance with the rule, non-existent cannot be proved, it is certainly not easy to prove it. Thus, the unbelief and misguidance show in other parts of the Risale-i-Nur to be so difficult and problematic as to be impossible is the sort. Anyone with even a grain of intelligence wouldn't take this way. Moreover, as is demonstrated, it imparts such grievous pains and suffocating darkness that anyone reasonable to the teeniest degree would not follow it.
Jazakallah.
Yep.
We can stop here. So basically the question is, in these 13 flashes, the author is saying committing a sin or falling into a mistake, doing bad things, acting as if you don't believe is easy, he was saying. Because destruction is easy. Like you build a building, just destroy one of the carrying beams, and the entire building will collapse, he says. And in other parts of the Risale, like everything we studied before this certain flash, we didn't keep saying that unbelief is so hard. Like it's based on denying something very obvious, right? So it must be so hard that it's impossible, author even says in certain places. It is impossible to deny the existence of all-knowing, all-powerful creator. Isn't there a kind of conflict here? He said, the question says, you say unbelief easy, unbelief is hard. Which one? That's the question. And the answer is, who wants to enlighten us? Well, any first impressions from the text? Zaren, please go ahead. Who has the microphone? Please hand it to Sister Zaren.
So, my first impression was that the kind of the first sort of unbelief that is mentioned is kind of like you have your way, I have my way, we'll just both go following our respective ways while just acknowledging that the other path exists. Like, for example, if I were to say, my favorite color is blue, Rizza's favorite color is pink, we can respect that we have different favorite colors and just go on our way. Whereas for the second sort, it's more like if I was trying to say blue is the best color there is, and that you are wrong for liking the color pink, then I would have to back up that claim with evidence for why X, Y, and Z colors are not the best, which is, I guess, harder. I don't know if that's a good example, but that is how I was kind of thinking of it, where to say something like does not exist, you have to go through everything, like all the universe essentially, to say that, and that is pretty difficult to do. So maybe in that sense, in the same way, it's difficult to say this is the best color and these are the worst colors. So I was kind of thinking of it that way.
Okay, Jazakallah. Brother Yusuf.
So this reminds me of a conversation, like the question reminds me of a conversation that we had with a friend who was a postdoc in the same lab that I worked at. She was coming from a Muslim background, and at some point she said, well, we cannot prove God exists anyways. Like, you just believe in it. You cannot prove it, which means it's impossible. Like, you cannot prove God exists. You just go with it. If you want to believe it, you believe it. If you don't, I mean, the question is asking the exact opposite, actually. It says, no, proving God, or as we have been discussing, is so easy, meaning you cannot do it otherwise. The opposite is impossible. But what do we think about this? Like, is it that, especially if we are coming from a Muslim background, the next thing that comes is, oh yeah, there's belief in the unseen. So of course we cannot prove. So you just accept it, and then your heart is going to feel this what's it, feelings, and then you will know what it is.
Jazakallah. Very, yeah, nice place to start with. Zaha?
So, kind of like a quick summary, what I feel like it's talking about is very clear. Like there's two types of unbelief. One of them is not accepting truth, which is considered easy because you don't have to do extra work to prove anything. You just, truth is given and you're saying, no, I don't want to accept. The second one is acceptance of what is false. That's where it's hard because you have to, as the author says, that can only be accepted through proving non-existence, which means you have to do extra work there to make it clear why like something that is non-existent is to be accepted. So I feel like the distinction there makes sense.
Yeah.
Because just the amount of work, cognitive work, I don't know, I have to do to even though both of them are different forms of unbelief, one is very easy to fall into because I don't have to do much work. I just have to not accept it. Whereas the other, I have to prove to myself this is the right way.
Okay, Jazakallah. Yep.
To piggyback off that, I did understand, like I had like the same understanding, and I feel like in the like for a while now, right, we've been reaching the conclusion that belief points to existence and that disbelief points to non-existence. But can we like draw a picture of what non-existence is again to remind the new people, mostly me, because it's like what does that mean, right? Like non-existence. I can, yeah, if we can just quickly draw that picture to illustrate it.
That's a good question. Can you draw a picture of nothing?
Yeah, like that's what I'm imagining, right? But like I'm trying to think of like existence as in purpose. So non-existence would be like no purpose. But like if we could just, that I don't know, make it clearer, something more tangible that I can hold on to for a long time and not forget by next week. Something like that.
Jazakallah. Yeah, very, very, very important. Yeah. Anyone wants to start? So my understanding, so I will summarize what I understand from the text with a hope that it will also answer your question. I don't have a direct answer to your question. I apologize. Basically, just don't know. But from text, what I understand is that when we say, I don't believe, right? It may mean multiple things, the author says. One thing is, like with my the children as well, they know, right? At the house, if I say that this will not be purchased or this will not be eaten, it will not be eaten because I have the power in the house. I'm not saying that, I use this power, etc. But they know that this is the case because I'm taller, I'm faster, whatever. Even if they try to eat it, I can take it from them, throw it in the trash, whatever. If I don't want it to be eaten, it won't be eaten. They know that I have authority. I have power, right? But they can simply say, no, I will eat. That's what they do usually, right? Start crying. They say, no, I don't accept your authority. What do they mean with that when they say, I don't accept your authority? It simply says, yes, I know You are more powerful, faster. It's your food. You are buying it, whatever, like from her perspective. I'm not claiming anything, any ownership. But in terms of the social relationship, right? They know it, but they don't accept it. The same way when we say, I don't believe, we can mean, yeah, if I think about who created everything or who created this phone, yes, what you say makes sense. I will probably necessarily come to conclusion, if I'm honest to myself, that there must be all powerful, whatever creator. But I don't accept it because I want to live my life in this way. Right? This is one way of denying things. And this is probably the mainstream denial. If you talk to anyone on the street, ask them whether they are religious or not, with a high probability they say no, right? Ask them, what do you mean with no? I mean, don't you think there's a thing, whatever it is, that puts everything in place, controls them, etc., with a high probability? They will say, yes, probably there is. Or yeah, there must be. But let me live my way, man. Right? That would be the answer most of the time. So he's saying that this is easy. Everybody can do that. Right? Because you're not saying that it doesn't exist. You're just saying that I just don't accept. Yes, it exists maybe, but I don't accept it. I don't make it part of my life. That's the easy part. The hard part, he says, when I ask who gives, the existence, what is the source of this flower? I said there must be all powerful, all knowing creator. And somebody comes and says, no, I will show you that an electron can do it. That's the hard one. Why hard? Because it's impossible. You cannot. Because there is non-existence of power in the electron. Electron doesn't have any power. Electron doesn't have any wisdom, any art, anything, any quality you see, it's not there. But you have to prove me that it is there. And you cannot do that. So when I say then there must be all-knowing, all-wise creator, you have to prove me that no, there is no such all-powerful, all-wise creator. If you want to deny the existence of such a creator, you have to deny entire existence. Because if a form is there, there must be, not that there should be, or there can be, or maybe there is a factory. No, there must be a factory. If you want to deny the existence of a factory in one form or another that produced this phone, you have to deny the existence of phone itself. That's hard it is. You have to prove the existence of all-knowing, the non-existence, of all-knowing, all-powerful creator. You have to deny the entire existence. Because every part of the existence points to all-knowing, all-wise creator, all-powerful creator. That's how hard it is.
And actually, for that reason, taking it back to Senil's question, there would be some people who would say there is no art in the flower. There is no wisdom in the flower. Because this is really the only way to go with that. So that you deny their existence, so that you don't need to come up with a source for those existences. So that's why it was very to the point to bring that up. In your experience, do you really think it doesn't exist? It does exist. Therefore, But hypothetical question for that reason becomes not necessary or irrelevant. But yeah, I mean, from technical point of view, that was a good question. But from practical point of view, this is where people are, as a last resort, going to say that there is no God. Why? Because there's no wisdom, there's no art, and whatnot. And you're pretty much denying yourself and your own experience.
And I mean, highlight the same thing again and again. The language we use here, like a language used in the text, is so important, and to me, it's like a revolutionary. Okay, when we talk about all-wise, all-powerful Creator, author talks in a necessity. There must be such a powerful Creator. Why? Because there is form. Because there is flower that I cannot deny flower. I cannot deny all these qualities I see there. Then there must be such thing, whatever it is. I'm not talking about whether this thing sends a prophet, tells you what to drink, what not to drink. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that there must be such a Creator. To deny that, it's impossibility. You have to deny everything, including yourself. So start from existence, what you see, what you experience, then your belief becomes real and necessity things. It's not a choice anymore. Oh yeah, I'm from Pakistan, hence I'm a believer. I'm a Muslim. No, I exist. Everything I see exists, hence I'm a believer. We have a few more minutes. Maybe we can read the next part as well. Okay. So we will start from, if it is asked, we need another Muhammad. Would you like to read? Do you want to help? And it's the other Muhammad. Can you help your fellow Muhammad? And the microphone, who has the microphone? Who has the microphone, please?
So, if it is asked, why do most people take it, seeing that it is so grievous, dark, and difficult? The answer: they have fallen into it and cannot extricate themselves. And because the animal and vegetable powers in man do not see the consequences and do not think of them, and come to dominate man's subtle faculties, such people do not want to extricate themselves, so console themselves with immediate temporary pleasure. Question: since misguidance gives rise to such dreadful suffering and fear, the unbeliever should not be able to live, let alone receiving pleasure from life. He should be crushed by the pain and be absolutely terrified. For although by reason of his humanity, he desires innumerable things and loves life, because of his unbelief, he constantly sees death confronting him as eternal extinction and everlasting separation, and the passing of beings and deaths of his friends and those he loves as annihilation and eternal parting. So, how can such a man live? How can he receive pleasure from life? The answer: he deceives himself through an extraordinary sophistry of Satan and lives. He supposes he receives a superficial pleasure. We shall allude to the true nature of this with a well-known comparison. It is related that they said to the ostrich, "You have got wings, so fly." But it folded its wings and said, "I am a camel," and didn't fly. So it fell into the hunter's trap, and not wanting the hunter to see it, stuck its head in the end. However, it left its huge body exposed as prey for the hunter. They later said to it, "You say you are a camel, so you should carry loads." Whereupon it opened its legs and declared, "I am a bird," and so avoiding being a beast of burden. But then it had neither protector nor food, and was pursued by the hunters. In exactly the same way, the unbeliever gave up absolute disbelief in the face of Quran's heavenly proclamations and fell into skepticism. If he is asked, "You think that death is eternal extinction? How can a person live when he perpetually sees before him the gallows on which he is to be hanged? How can he be happy?" Thanks to the portion he has received of the Quran's universal mercy and all encompassing light, the man replies, "Death doesn't mean going to nothingness. Perhaps there is life after death." Or else he plunges his head in the sand of heedlessness, like the ostrich, so that the appointed hour will not spot him, and the grave will not watch him, and the transients of things will not will not fly their arrows at him. In short, when like the ostrich, the unbeliever looks on death and decline as extinction, his skepticism makes him consider possible the certain tidings of the Quran, and revealed scriptures concerning belief in the hereafter afford him a possibility. He grasps the possibility and does not suffer that ghastly pain. If he is then told, "Since one will go to an everlasting realm, so have a good life there," here one has to put up with the difficulties of performing the religious obligations. His skepticism leads him to reply, "Perhaps there is no such world, so why should I work for something that doesn't exist?" That is to say, he is saved from the pain of eternal nothingness by the possibility of immorality afforded by the decree of the Quran. And clinging on to the possibility of unbelief, he is saved from the hardship of the religious obligations by the possibility of non-existence afforded by his skepticism. That is to say, from this point of view, he supposes he receives more pleasure from this life than the disbelievers. For due to the possibility afforded by unbelief, he is saved from the hardship of the religious obligations. And due to the possibility afforded by belief, he does not expose himself to everlasting pains. However, this satanic sophistry is extremely superficial, temporary, and without benefit. Thus, the all-wise Quran produces a sort of manifestation of mercy for the unbelievers. 2. That to an extent saves their lives in this world from being hell. It induces doubt in them, so they live through doubt. Otherwise, by recalling the hell of the hereafter, they would have suffered the torments of a sort of hell in this world too, and they would have been compelled to commit suicide. O people of belief, fully confident in your belief, enter under the protection of the Quran, which will save you from eternal extinction and the hells of the world, and the hells of this world and the hereafter. Submissively and appreciatively remain within the bounds of the Prophet's practices, and so be saved from both misery in this world and torment in the next.
So there were two main questions. The first one was, if that unbelief is so bad, so dark, so difficult, why do people take it? This was the first question. And he gave an interesting answer, actually. He said they have fallen into it and cannot get out of it. This was his first reason. And the second one, he said, and also in addition to this, they think like they're enjoying it partially, because humans' animal and vegetative aspects are more fond of immediate desires and a little bit weary of hardship, so they would like to stay there sometimes. This was the answer. But then the second question, I think that's the bigger question, says if unbelief is so impossible, so dreadful, so contradicting human existence, human experience, how do they live? Especially like Imam Nursi didn't see the age of Instagram, but people are posting pictures of them enjoying life. They don't believe and whatever, but people seem to be enjoying life. How is it possible that you are going to be a disbeliever, denier, yet enjoy life? Are we just fooling ourselves that they should be suffering, or do they really suffer? And for this, he gives this metaphor of an ostrich. And the story in like that metaphor in Turkish makes more fun, because ostrich in Turkish is a camel bird, actually. It's translated as camel bird. So they are
Camel, neither bird.
yeah. So
Okay.
literally it is camel bird. This is the word we use. So he says, since you are bird, fly. He says, no, I am camel. And then he doesn't fly. And then if you are camel, then carry the burden, load. It says, it opens the wings and says, no, I am bird. So I am neither camel nor bird. So using the advantage of both sides, both worlds, for a small gain. He likens the disbeliever to this. And then says the disbeliever, when talked about, if you don't believe in like God's an all-knowledgeable creator, then death is going to annihilate you. How are you going to, what's your answer to that? What's your preparation? What's going to happen? Well, maybe as they say, there's an afterlife, this possibility of having an afterlife. So he just opens the wing and says, I'm a bird, sort of. Like he says, he uses this possibility, this likelihood to save himself from the worries of or unbearableness of death and non-existence. If you really think about it, bearing non-existence is not that easy. Like digesting the fact that if supposing to accept that I am going to become nothing, I don't know if you can do it. Whenever I thought about it, I was just like becoming blank. It's something that's unacceptable to human. Give it a try. And then comes the other side. So then if you are considering entertaining the idea of a God afterlife, then do the worship, do the responsibilities of religion. Then says, well, maybe there's no God, no afterlife. Why shall I do things for nothing? When I was in high school, one of my friends, in the morning, before entering the classroom, we were getting like they were merging us in the garden of the school. So this is the first time of the day you see your friends, right? So in the news the day before, there was a news that some American people, whatever, they cloned a baby. So my friend said that, Yusuf, they cloned the baby. All your prayers, they were for nothing. Like what he's saying is, we created another human being. There's no God. So all the prayers that you were doing went for nothing. So this was the impression that he has. So like, if there's no God, then why shall I invest in there, right? So when they say, if you are a camel, then carry, then he opens the wing and says, I'm a bird. I don't want to carry. Maybe God doesn't exist. So neither camel nor bird, neither believer nor a perfect unbeliever, somewhere in between, just saving the day.
And which is the main character that we have today, right? The people, and when we say we have today the character, I also mean the character that we sometimes, if not most of the times, take to ourselves. So different names can be given: agnosticism, deism, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. But the thing is, everybody looks at the creation and they see undeniably all these different qualities that we talked about, even more, right? People do see them. So They have the glimpse of this necessity of such a creator. But they, at the same time, as author says, they fell into the trap of naturalism. Why? Because we've been trained this way from your primary school, even kindergarten. Kindergarten also has science classes. So it sounds as if, I'm a scientist, researcher. But let's be honest, right? Starting from there, we've been trained to accept the idea of naturalism. Everything has to be explained within this natural thing, order, right? If you say something like, yeah, but within this creation, nothing can give rise to this flower, there must be something else, they will give you a name. They will ridicule you. Oh, you are dogmatic, whatever, right? You're just believing something supernatural, right? You start with the natural, put the word super, it becomes funny then, right? Oh, do you believe in Zeus? Something like that, right? So that's the way we've been trained. Our minds also works that way. So we fell into this trap, and it is really hard to escape from it. It becomes your second nature. I was reading the philosopher, the one that I really enjoy. He says, I'm an atheist, not because, I have some proofs or anything. Like, I have believer friends, they are so clever. All the points they make all sense. But I don't want to live in a universe where there is such God. And he says, doesn't matter what he means, but it's like almost you can summarize it as I'm stick with this naturalist camp. So I cannot escape from it. Right? So that's one thing the author talks about. And we will find ourselves in the same position again, most of times. When we look at the things, we usually have this, the voice in our mind. Oh, come on, Birkan, don't be fundamentalist, don't be ridiculous. Of course, genes, the molecules, everything, the water cycle, the rain is nothing but, it's not like a mercy coming from creator. No, it's just the change in the pressure and the temperature. Right? This voice will always talk to me. It's really hard to escape from that. That's one thing. And then, as author says, the unbelief has many shapes, and most of the people, when you look at yourself and your friends, everyone around you, it's not that, they say, oh, no, there's a complete nonsense or meaningless in this creation. Everything happens by itself, by random chance, mere chance events. Nobody can believe such a thing. Everybody was trying to see some meaning. Like they would say, I'm not a believer, I'm an atheist, but a spiritual. People has to rely on something. And because they see all these qualities in this creation, it is easy for them to rely on something. That's what I understand from when author says, with the mercy of Quran. The mercy is that you see all these qualities that pointing to all-powerful, all-knowledgeable creator. Everybody sees these qualities. Hence, it's easy for them, for us, to say that I'm not a believer, but I'm a spiritual. Because there's an evidence there to rely on something like powerful than yourself. Everybody does that. But when it comes to living the consequences of this idea, there must be all-knowing, all-powerful creator. You have to, what is the first consequence? Forget the prayer, etc. You have to leave your claim of ownership. You say, I have this PhD. Why? Because I work hard, man. Right? No. The creation tells you, wait a second, everything about you, about your PhD, created not by you, but the all-powerful one. I have this beautiful car. How? I work hard. My salary is good. You say, oh no, actually, whatever I gain, whatever I'm given, whatever I see there is must be created by the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-merciful creator. I have to leave all my claims about the authors, the ownership on anything. That part is hard. We say, no, yeah, there's a creator, but let me leave as if there's no.
I think it is, you are all scientists apparently here, one way or another, like either in school for doing PhD or like somehow in that educational system. So it is true that the scientific community they are very zealously insisting that they are gonna try to make sense of this universe within the universe itself, because that's what science is, right? It's all about like experiments, and like you cannot speak of like science without an experiment, and experiments can only happen within the lab conditions within the universe. So like they are seeking the understanding the existence, where the existence come from within the existence itself. That's a problem. Having that kind of attitude like from the beginning is a problem. But it is also our reality that when we are born, like from a very little baby, we open our eyes into a world that we are born into causal relationships. And from the babyhood, that's what we experience. When I'm hungry, I cry and the milk comes. And when I grow up a little bit more, like when I get thirsty, I drink water and I quench my thirst. That is my reality, and that is the reality that I live in. So, but like that is acceptable when you're like maybe 6, 7, 8 years old. But when you come to an age like where you ask, like actually you start asking those questions even when you're a child, but like when you are developed enough, your brain is developed enough to understand the meaning behind it, that's where we all stop. And that's where also the scientific community stops. So they are still like in like 5, 6 years old mindset that like, oh, I'm just gonna try to make sense of this relationship between the like drinking the water and quenching my thirst, and not asking the question, what does that even mean? Or is there any kind of like meaning other than just like quenching my thirst like with the water? That's where I think the problem starts. And if one doesn't ask the question, what is all this? Like, what is the behind all this? Like, and why am I even going through that kind of experience? That religious aspect of like, or the religious, maybe just let me just rephrase it. The interpretation of my existence under the light of revelation never starts, because that's where the revelation comes and like asks you the question, look at your reality again, like look at your experience again. Does it really the water quenching your thirst, or there is something beyond that? And like I think this like ostrich like analogy, we are stuck in between no, it is really the water. No, there must be something else. No, it is really the water. No, there must be something else. Like, I think we just like go like back and forth in between those like two states in our mind and in our heart.
Jazakallah. Okay, let's conclude, inshallah. And if anyone wants to say, oh, that was new for me. I never, thought it that way. Or that part I didn't understand. I think it doesn't make sense. Can you share such parts from the discussions to see whether, the people were listening at all? Which parts were new? That way of thinking I never thought before. Anyone? Or anything that didn't make sense? You want to share? Camel bird, okay, never heard you.
I have one question.
Let's finish with your beautiful question, inshallah.
I think it's gonna be short. But you were talking about the ownership, and we've talked about that in the past, and how everything is created by the creator, and everything is owned by the creator. But how about the choice? Like we were talking about the indivisible, small, whatever it was called. Is that owned by us? Because I'm the one paying the consequences for my choice. So like, is that mine?
What choice is yours?
Jazakallah. Let's finish with this question, inshallah. We don't have time, but we can study this, inshallah. Maybe to short answer, the responsibility is yours. You can own the responsibility. That much you can own. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.